I love climbing in Scotland because there's just nowhere like it. I've travelled the world in 17 years and I've never been anywhere like Scotland.
So we're at Three Wise Monkeys right now, which is the local climbing wall in Fort William. And when it's bad weather outside, this is where I come to go climbing. I think most people think of me these days as like a Scottish trad climber, but sometimes I honestly feel like a little bit like a bit of an imposter in with the trad gear and going out into the mountains, because it was climbing walls where I kind of grew up, and you know, it was where I learned to climb in these places. I was a gym rat, you know. I grew up in the city. I didn't have mountains or, you know, rocky cliffs and boulders right by my house. You know, I had to just make do with what I had, which was, yeah, plastic. I still love indoor climbing, and this place still feels like home, even though the mountains are the places that I love to go more than anywhere else.
Today we're in Fort William. It's kind of like the adventure hub of Scotland. Today's plan is to go up and check out this unclimbed corner that I spotted about a month ago. It's a very obvious line actually, looking up at it. It reminds me of something out of Yosemite.
So we're in Glen Nevis right now. We've got Steel Falls in the background, Ben Nevis over here. So this big piece of rock up here is what we're here for. I remember walking out from the crag last time, looking up at this thing and just seeing this amazing crack coming through this big overhang, and then suddenly this amazing big corner, like something out of Yosemite. It's clearing the way all the way to the top of the crag. I don't know how many holds there are, I don't know if there's any gear, but it looks beautiful from down here, so I'm gonna head up there anyway, throw a rope down it and see what's what.
So I would absolutely call myself an advocate of climbing greener, but you know, I wasn't always like that. You know, as a youngster, I really didn't think about it at all. And I think it's really only in the last sort of 6 or 7 years that I've really become engaged with environmental matters. I think it comes quite easy to climbers because we see the effects of climate change firsthand. Nowadays, consumers are more and more looking at the brands to make changes to more sustainable manufacture. I do think that climbing gear has almost been given a bit of a leeway in this respect because we do rely on it to save our lives. That's why I really respect Edelrid as a brand, because the cornerstone principles of the brand is innovation, safety, and environmentalism. Working with labels like Blue Sign, who within the textiles world follow the most stringent environmental practices that it's possible to have. Another great way that climbers can think about how they can be more eco-conscious when it comes to the gear that they use is the durability of the gear. Products like the bulletproof carabiners, which have a very small steel insert placed into the very lightweight body of the carabiner that essentially makes the carabiner incredibly hard wearing in a way that actually closes the loop between rope and carabiner, because the carabiner is longer lasting, but in the carabiner being longer lasting, so is the rope. The rope doesn't get affected by the sharpness of the carabiner. Alright, so we're gonna go now and check out whether or not this thing is possible. Wish me luck. Come into like a cycle here, stem your feet across, palm into this, build your feet up until you're stemming on both sides. I spoke to Dave Cuthbertson, a local legend of Scottish climbing, about it. He said that he'd actually abseiled down it back in the 80s to have a look, and unfortunately he reckoned there wasn't enough gear really to make it viable. This might be the hard part about this, is actually just getting established in the corner. It's going to be hard to get established. Oh no, it's not possible there. I think this route just needs a lot of TLC. This one section here is pretty brutal. But yeah, definitely this is gonna take more than a day. In reality, this climb is actually a really hard piece of climbing. Something that I'm definitely not gonna get done in the next day or so. I think the best option would be to go away and try another climb and come back to this one when I've got a bit more time. There's also, on a buttress right beside it, an old E8 of Dave Macleod's from 21 years ago that's remained unrepeated since he did it. So, this climb's like looking really cool. It's like most things here, it's completely filthy because it's not been climbed, most likely since the first ascensionist. I found like a cluster of gear just on this little bit here. It's nothing's like absolutely amazing, but there's a few bits which are okay. And then you've got this head wall which looks largely unprotected and bouldery. So that's going to be scary. The process for working a hard trad climb in Scotland is, you've obviously got to clean it. And then you've got to decipher the holds and the gear. Now, I realise that this climb, it's pretty hard, but it's also quite bold. The gear is about, I'd say, a third of the way up the wall. When you go above that section, you're definitely soloing. You're gonna hit the ground anywhere after the crux. And the thought of that definitely, puts a little bit of a chill into you. Oh, there you go. That's how you do it. Whew. I just made that up as I went up. I was intending on going out to those slopey things out there, and then I ended up like, oh no, wait a minute, I reckon I could do something different. That's cool. Every trad climb's different, but this one definitely has quite a strong mental game to it. You place a bunch of gear in this little cluster of rock, this quartz band, and then commit to some pretty hard moves. Partly, the thing that's protecting you is your gear, but it's also your ability to climb and not fall off. I'm not sure if I won't fall off. I don't actually know. But I think that I can do this, so I'm just gonna go down there and give it my best shot. Hope for the best. So you're going to hit the ground anywhere after the crux. And the thought of that definitely, puts a little bit of a chill into you.
It's funny, it's so different when you try a hard trad route on lead compared to just trying it on the fixed line. It's like you can't replicate that feeling of being on the sharp end where the consequences are real. So I remember the top section, it's not the hard bit, but that's the bit where if you make a mistake, you're gonna hit the ground. And I felt it, I felt it in my heart. Just that moment, and the sort of fear creeping in. But I think like being a good trad climber is being able to control that, to sort of like look within yourself and realize that you have the ability to kind of climb and get to the top. And that is what's going to keep you safe. It doesn't matter that there's no gear, because you yourself have that ability to keep yourself safe and finish the climb.